What's going on, all you predator enthusiasts? These two wild rascals are back. I'm talking about Uncle Logan over there and me, Henry Hill. It premiered on Hulu this weekend. It's the long awaited prequel to Predator. We're talking about Prey.
And that's right. We're finally getting a good film in the Predator franchise. I think this is the seventh film, but I guess fifth if you're not counting Alien versus Predator. But this is a prequel film, 300 years before the original movie. It takes place in the early 1700s with the Comanche tribe and the main protagonist being Naru, played by Amber Midthunder. There's a lot of foreign language in this movie. You have to read the subtitles and then they go back to the English. But a really cool setup. They're this tribe. Essentially, the predator lands on their, lands in the North Plains and starts killing people. And they're trying to figure out what exactly this creature is.
An awesome setup going back in time to the 1700s, back when the Native Americans, ran the land. They knew all the tricks, how to survive out there, how to hunt. And really, they did all the hunting. And when the predator lands on the planet, that brings forth a new, top alpha animal there with them, and they sort of start to become the prey themselves when the predator lands. But it's a different predator than we've seen before, especially before the first one with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Carl Weathers. That one was, even more advanced than this one. Going back in time, we see a much more animalistic and feral version of the predator, and a really awesome introduction where he's hunting and crafts the mask that he uses in this film.
Yeah, this is like basically looking at it like Tracker and Hunters back in the day with the tribe. A lot of wildlife. They didn't have the technologies that we have now and had to live off the land and survive and kill animals. And early in the film, people start getting killed off, and they're trying to figure out what it is, and they think it's this lion, mountain lion, essentially. To find out there's something much larger at play here by just picking up the tracks of the predator and things like that, just things out of the ordinary. And one by one they start getting picked up. It really sets up a great atmosphere. It's beautifully set up. I love the camera work in this film. It's going back to the basics with the original film. Throw this group of soldiers in the jungle and have them survive. This movie going back to the wilderness, thinking like Canada, I think where most of the film was, where they filmed this. But it had the beautiful landscapes, all the animals they show in this, so the trees and the water and everything, living off the land, and then throwing in this, alien species, and that's way ahead of its time. And they're not really sure what the hell this is, and trying to take it out.
A problem with the sequels of late of the Predator and the Aliens versus Predator movies, there were really no humans that we got attached to, ever since Arnold Schwarzenegger in part one, obviously, classic character Dutch from the very first one. But since then, not a lot of great human characters. It's all been about the different versions of predators they can make and make them more ferocious. Whereas this one, we get a really good connection with this girl, this Comanche girl, Naru. And, we find out that she really wants to be considered a hunter. She knows that she has all these skills, and she has an older brother, obviously, so the family is looking to the older brother to sort of be number one hunter in the family, whereas she's vying to be that, but she has to be more reserved. Obviously, it was way back in the day, gender roles and all that, and obviously even within her tribe there, the older brother would be next in line for the father. But in this one, Naru's a badass. She throughout the film shows that she's one step ahead of even her brother there. And I love the scenes when they first get into contact with a predator and she has to use those survival skills that she knows. And then it has that really cool scene with the bear. The bear's chasing her.
That was my favorite one, as you can imagine.
Yeah, some really inventive action in this. The way that they use the predators, his invisible shield, his cloak, suit, whatever you call it, and all his gadgets and everything. But in this one, like I mentioned, he's more feral, and he goes toe to toe with all these wild animals. And it really had some really awesome scenes in this movie. They got me pumped up, and reminded me a lot of what we saw in the very first one back in, the late 80s.
Most of it was done with CGI, but I thought it was really well done. Even going into the Predator's outfit, that looked really great. A different look compared to the original films of how they went about the Predator, but I thought it looked really great. Really pulled that off well, and I was impressed by that. And all the animals too, all the kill scenes were really fantastic. It seemed the rattlesnake, a wolf, a bear being my favorite animal. Cool how that all takes place, and Naru is like hiding out and seeing this whole like attack between a bear and the predator going toe to toe. It's really cool. But yeah, she's not really appreciated in her tribe. Her brother, looks at her, is like, okay, you're just a sister. You should be back, with the rest of the tribe, just hanging out and taking care of stuff there. But she wants to be a hunter. She's really good at it. All she has is like this little axe. Thinking back 300 years ago, how would you take out a predator? They set up these other characters in the film, the Frenchies that show up.
They're a bunch of assholes. They come in. I think they're fur traders, and they're going across the land. They don't give a shit. They don't respect the tribes that are there. They end up, keeping Naru and her brother captive. And that, really sets up the action after that. The last 45 minutes of this movie, pure action, had me on the edge of my seat and just pumped me up. Just an awesome movie. And the way that, they had to deal with the predator being technologically advanced and being a good hunter himself to really outsmart him. Those scenes are really well done by Dan Trachtenberg. He also directed 10 Cloverfield Lane. He's directed episodes of The Boys, Black Mirror. So he thought of this story years back, and he always had this vision in mind of, the Native Americans and that kind of time. And something set up in this movie that ties into the other movies. There's a lot of Easter eggs, something specifically you'll see later in the film that could even possibly, be introduced in the sequel. So I'm really pumped up. I really loved everything about this film. Really lived up to my expectations. I knew it probably wasn't going to be as great as the first one. It's going to be hard to top that, but I hoped, we'd see like the best sequel to date. And for my money, I'd say Prey is the best Predator sequel.
Oh, easily. I was so blown away by this. I watched it Friday night. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot this debuted on Hulu. Checked it out after work. I was glued to the seat. I couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom. I was so into this movie from start to finish. I love the ending. I love what they did with this character, Naru. I thought she was a total badass. Nobody appreciated her, but she's really the hero of this film and kicking some ass and taking some names and proving to herself and other women in the 1700s, take them seriously as Naru brings something back to the campsite at the end of the movie. It was really awesome, but she really showed all the men in the tribe that, she's a force to be reckoned with, and she really pulls off this performance. I love the actress. First time seeing her in a movie, man, those action scenes were top notch. Really did a great job, and I love the cast. Dan Trachtenberg, great director. Putting this movie together, I thought, final product that we got was really fantastic across the board. I love the setting here. Going back to the old school days, 300 years ago, just the wild nature and animals around you, and throwing a predator in the situation, how that all works out. And love the CGI and the score, everything about it. This is a movie I would definitely pick up on 4K, and definitely a movie I would watch again. So with that being said, I'm going to give Dan Trachtenberg's Prey a 5 out of 5 predator hair pieces.
But he ain't got time to bleed. And neither did I, waiting for a sequel, a worthy sequel and a worthy follow-up to Predator, the very first one in the 80s, not the, the Predators and the Predator sequel that we got of late. Just didn't work out. But Prey was everything that I hoped it would be. It went back to the basics, went back to the woods, the jungle, just like the first one. And really, Amber Midthunder's performance, she knocked it out of the park. She had to be the lead and go toe-to-toe with this behemoth, feral predator. And you'll have to see what find out what happens in this film, but it's terrific. The action's great. Some great predator kill scenes. I really, there's some standout moments here that are going to be at the top of the list in the Predator movies for predator kills. With that being said, I loved Prey, and I am giving Prey a 4.5 out of 5. I ain't got time to bleed hair pieces. Yo, I got scalped.
Oh yeah, this movie definitely has a lot of Easter eggs, and a lot of nods to the original film, but with Dutch, old Arnold Schwarzenegger, the original badass in the first movie. Lots of nods in this film to the original. A lot of tie-ins too to Predator 2 that I noticed today, without giving too much away. There's a lot of stuff in this movie. So all the Predator fans out there that have been sticking by the franchise, definitely check this out. You'll come across what the Easter eggs they do in the movie, the tie-ins, is really cool, and how they can expand this to maybe another Prey 2 movie. I don't know. If you stick around the mid-credit scenes, you can kind of piece it together that maybe they can take this to the next chapter.
I would love to watch the Predator in another time period, maybe the 1800s in the next one. See how they can continue on this story. Dan Trachtenberg needs to come back for the sequel. He knocked this one out of the park. I would like to see Amber Midthunder come back if she can, if the story works. But they did a great job, and I liked how they released this on the streaming service Hulu. They bet their money in a good place. They wanted to put out a big film, and Hulu chose a smart one to put out. It really blew me away. And hopefully this does great on streaming and we get that sequel, whether it be another, sequel on Hulu or if the next one goes to the big screen, which I'd love to see too. But it sounds like we both loved Prey. We want to hear what you guys thought of Prey. Let us know in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to click subscribe. Also, make sure to visit our website, Cinephellas.com. Check out all our social media pages, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, for the latest TV movie news and reviews.
So that about wraps it up for these wild boys and the newest movie review for Cinephellas. We're going to be back talking about lots more movies and TV shows in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. And this is Uncle Logan Myers, my good mate over there, Uncle Henry, signing out until the next movie review. Knock, knock.